Well, good evening, good evening. It is our fourth Tuesday Let's Talk session with Dr. Wilson. Dr. Wilson, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Once again, we are excited to be here tonight. For those of you who are viewing, we want you to do a couple of things. One, we want you to invite some persons to join us on tonight, and then we also want you to share the link, send it out, put it on your page so others can jump in and grow. Now, listen, we see the topic tonight. The topic is coping with workplace stress. Coping with workplace stress. Dr. Wilson, I know some individuals, they wake up in the mornings, it's time to go to work, they dread going to work.
Yes.
They at work, they want to be isolated, they don't want to be involved with other people, they don't want to be teammates. Some people just they're stressed, and it's because of their workplace environment. So Dr. Wilson, help us understand how to manage it. Help
Okay.
us how to go back to that place where we woke up every day and we was excited about going into work, excited about doing some things. Now, for those of you, if you're retired, listen, do not log off. Do not log off. Get the tools, listen to Dr. Wilson. And when you talk to other persons that you know are in their career field or starting their career field, you can give them some healthy tips and be a great advisor to them. So I'm going to move out the way. I'm going to turn over to Dr. Wilson now so she can share with us on this evening.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Mia Wilson. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and a certified addiction professional, certified traumatologist, and nationally board certified. Whew, that's a mouthful. Anyways, I'm so excited to be back with you again tonight. And this is one of the biggest topics that I see coming in. I'm in private practice, and I can guarantee about 50% of my clients are dealing with workplace stress. I know it's out there, and especially you add a pandemic on top of that. It has been really it was been another pandemic in itself. So for those who are in who are working part-time, full-time, sometimes those jobs can be the best, and they can also get on our last pinky toe nerves. The other thing, hey, for you guys who are small business owners, I got something for you too. I've been in private practice. I had my own business now. This month makes 16 years. I can't believe it. I've been in the counseling field for 24 years. So I'm celebrating my sweet 16th work anniversary this month. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. And hopefully this will work. Okay, hopefully you guys can see my screen. And so we're going to be coping with workplace stress. And so as you see, having that work-life imbalance is very important, and we're going to talk about that tonight. So, what is job or what we call occupation stress is one and the same. And so, this can be defined as a harmful physical and emotional response that occur when the requirement of the job does not match our capabilities, resources, or our own needs of a worker. And so, in other words, when in the beginning, that job is exciting, you got hired, and then they don't give you the right training. It's not all what you thought it was going to be. Your expectations, your expectation that it was going to be this, and it turned out to be that, and then they create this glass ceiling for you. But we're going to talk more about that. Job stress can lead to poor health and even injury. In short, the stage is set for illness, injury, or in job failure. And we're definitely going to talk about that. So some of their major causes of occupation stress is that it can vary from person to person. It's all how a person can see it. So I know some people, they can work at one company and they love it and they thrive. And then there's another person that can come in and it's just like they are falling apart and cannot handle it. So it's important to note that employees of all organizations, no regardless how big or how small they may be, can be affected by occupational stress. Everybody has different stress triggers, which is true. So it's all how you perceive it. Work stress tops the list according to surveys. 40% of US workers admit to experiencing office stress, and one quarter say work is the biggest source of stress in their lives. And I truly believe that because a lot of people who come to counseling is definitely battling occupation stress. So, how much time do we spend at work? Well, a third of your life will be spent at work. That's 90,000 hours over the course of a lifetime. So the average American spends over 100 hours commuting, going back and forth to work. And by the age 30, most people will have at least 7 or 8 jobs. And again, hey, here's for my business owners. One survey from the New York Enterprise Reports found that small business owners work twice as much as regular employees. They found that 33% of small business owners reported working more than 50 hours per week, and 25% of them work over more than 60 hours per week. And which is funny because when I tell people I own my own business, they think I have more time on my hands than less. And I'm like, and I have to explain to them, I'm a small business owner. So, which means that I am the supply clerk, the custodian, the CEO, the CFO, I'm the everything. And so I can agree with this survey that when I used to work for a company and when I started my own business, I can definitely say that there was a change in hours. So, cause of work stress can cause being unhappy in your job. So, just like Pastor Scott was saying, oh my gosh, I'm dreading going to work. Even if I work from home, I'm dreading getting out of bed and going to that computer. I'm just unhappy with my job. Having a heavy workload or too much responsibility, people they start they can't concentrate. It's too much. They're overwhelmed. Working long hours. And now, unfortunately, in our country, in the United States, working long hours is almost like a pat on the back, like, oh, that is a positive aptitude, aptitude for the job. When in all essence, it's like where it's making us counterproductive. And then we have very poor work life. So we're almost like living to work instead of working to live. Having poor management or unclear expectations of your work. This is one of those jobs when you come in and they're expecting you to do this, and then the next day is something else, and then the next day is something else. And so you don't know what policy are we supposed to follow. Or you have no say in the decision making process. You just have to follow what's, not necessarily what's right, but what's been told. Some people working under dangerous conditions. So a good example of that would be some of the healthcare workers or the nurses when they had a shortage of protective personal gear, and they had the makeshift personal gear to go back and working in the hospital. Or you have firefighters that have to go into dangerous conditions. Um, and so things of that could, things like that. Being insecure about your chance for advancement, or that risk of termination. And so that's that glass ceiling. You're trying to say, hey, what are the things I need to do to get advanced? And they're very unclear, they're very foggy. Oh, they kind of tell you, okay, well, just do this, and then you do that, and then you're looking for the advancement. Oh, we're not advancing anybody. Oh, we put a freeze. Or they're constantly saying, hey, if you guys don't get this done, or if you don't meet this productivity, you're going to get fired. Having to give speeches in front of colleagues. I remember when I first was in the counseling field, I was in the Navy, so I was a Navy drug and alcohol counselor. And so as soon as I got to Mayport, one of the things they told me was, hey, you're going to be the training petty officer, and you're going to train your colleagues. And I'm like, I just got here. I just came out of school. And so one of the things that we'll talk about this a little bit later, I had to delegate and say, well, I'm just got into the field. I hadn't even been in for a month. And so what I would do is go out into Jacksonville community, and I found other therapists who had much more experience from me, and I would bring them in to do training. But it was stressful. Facing discrimination or harassment at work, and so this is a big thing that's been going on. Especially if your company isn't supporting. You go in. I had um, like years ago, she would get picked on by her supervisor about her hair, and she had a small afro. Beautiful young lady, but the supervisor would say, "Oh, you came in with your nappy hair. When are you going to get your hair done? Or what? To the point where uh, her anxiety went up, and she started wearing wigs. There's nothing wrong with that, but she was wearing wigs because of being harassed at work. Cause of work stress can be lack of support from human resource department. So you have a boss or supervisor, and then they're constantly harassing you, and then you find out that the human resource person is friends with your supervisor. And I've heard that before. Or they just like, oh, you just being oversensitive. They don't take you serious. Personal or situational professional issues. So one of the things that we learned, that we are one person, be it that we are um, at home or at work. But if I'm having some personal issues at home, such as relationship problems, money problems, divorce, losses, I'm grieving, any type of situations like that, I may bring it to the workplace, or vice versa. I'm having some professional issues, I'm having a hard time making my production, I'm overworked. Um, and then I take it, I'm constantly trying to catch up with myself at work. And then I have this long to-do list. I can't seem to keep up with it. And then I may be bringing that home with me. Be bullied or belittled or discriminated. I know now we have, inclusion and diversity. Those are the big words that has been thrown around since the Black Lives Matter. But nobody really talked about respect and making sure that we get respect for the positions and the roles that we're in. Restricted possibility for professional and personal self growth. You want to go, working at a company is like a relationship. I want to make sure that I'm giving as much as I'm receiving back, so that my cup is not empty. I'm constantly giving to the company, and then I don't get anything back. So so when a company restricts your possibility for that growth, it can cause a lot of stress, because it's like 5 years later, I'm still in the same spot. Poor time management can cause work stress. So if I'm not managing my time wisely, there's sometimes I have to realize I may not always get down to that things to do list. I may not be able to complete everything on the list that day, and I'm gonna have to be okay with just moving some things over for the next day. I hear this a lot, little or no occupational guidance or direction. So I get this brand new, I'm excited, I'm going to my brand new job, and I'm ready for somebody to train me. And I get very little guidance or directions on what I'm supposed to do, or I don't get the right equipment, or I don't have the access to the things that I need to do my job properly. And this was really rang true when the pandemic and everybody was working from home. Then I really, a lot of people didn't get that one-on-one guidance, but they were suspected to make those productivities, or they were still expected to do that, but didn't have a lot of direction. And then, of course, being overworked, working these long, ungodly hours. It's like you're constantly on. You can't sit down and settle. You're answering calls and emails all time of night, all early in the morning, in that you don't have a chance to just relax and enjoy your own personal life. performance expectations that far surpass an employee's training and ability. So again, I've got the training, but and I'm just new on the job, and um, that I don't have the training, but you're expecting me to meet this productivity, and but yet I haven't got the training or even have the right equipment or equipment that's working, but you're expecting me to work as if I've been there 6 months and I've only been there 2. Regular threats of termination, again, loss of wage, pay cuts, staff cuts, and benefit. So I had a client, and she worked, I'm not going to name job companies, but she worked at this one company that was having staff cuts. Um, and the way that they would do it is that when you're getting laid off, the person from HR would come with a box to put all your things in, and they'll just come up to you with a box in your hand and to let you know that, hey, this is your last day and you need to pack your things. So while they were at work, um, 2 people from HR had boxes, and the person on the left of her and the right of her. And so you can imagine, I mean, she went into a full blown panic attack, because it was like, are you, um, it puts you in like in an odd position. And then loss of benefits, if they're changing your insurance or they go up in your benefits, that's going to cost you more, that can be stressful. And again, working from home or working at the office. So some people during the pandemic, when they had to work from home, they were ecstatic. They were like, oh my God, can I stay here? They loved it. While other people, it was very stressful for them, trying to work from home. And again, they didn't have that guidance. Um, they didn't have a lot of directions. And so they were very stressed. And then some people were getting stressed having to go back into the office, because they were like, is it going to be safe? Well, how are you going to have, or how are you going to keep us safe? Do I have to wear a mask all day? Are we going to have barriers? I know a lot of teachers having to go back to the classroom, and what their role is, going back into the classroom or trying to teach online and in the classroom at the same time. So there was a lot of adjustment, which caused a lot of stress. And then, oh goodness, a workplace where there's a lot of drama and infighting, where personal conflicts frequently harm productivity. In other words, a toxic environment. So if you have coworkers that are constantly fighting, or management that's constantly fighting with the coworkers, that can make into a toxic environment. I remember this one time, and this is when I really learned that some coworkers are just that, they're coworkers. They're not friends. And some of them cannot be both. So we had a situation where this one lady, money can make people funny. I'm just saying. Well, there was a situation where there was an opportunity for a person to get a management position or leadership position. So these 2 coworkers were friends, and they hung out a lot outside of work and at the office. And when it came time to, they were both in line for this leadership position. And when I said a bus can get into a building, I didn't know a bus could fit in a building like that. And she threw her coworker slash friend under the bus, and by basically saying, well, I don't know why you would want her, because this is what she said about the supervisor. And so the other one, young lady, she's looking at her and saying, hey, I told you that in confidence. And she like, okay, I'm about to try to get this leadership position. Having an abusive or aggressive, spiteful, incompetent, or unfair boss. So we call them those narcissistic bosses, that they can be very nasty, very mean, they can almost just run you in the ground, and they have these expectations that are just unrealistic, and then think they're right. So, some of the signs of workplace stress, some of the things that we will be experiencing is when you start feeling overwhelmed, and that's what we call acute stress. I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, maybe lose a little confidence. I don't get any good feedback. I may start being angry. I may start being angry, not necessarily at my supervisor because I can't get to them, but I may come home and be angry with my children, my spouse, my family, my friends. I could be irritable or just starting to withdraw. And I'm just like, I don't want to deal with anybody when I come home. And so you can come home and just go straight to bed or go into my bedroom, and I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to talk to my kids. I don't. So this is what you call acute stress. And so it's kind of like your low level stress. Other signs and symptoms, feeling anxious. I had a lot of people that feel anxious to the point where they start having panic attacks. Again, they're irritable or they start feeling depressed, like they just cannot get it together, um, or they can't keep the level of work that they're trying to do, or they start feeling apathy. They start getting a loss of interest in work. They start having problems sleeping. They have racing thoughts, or they're constantly thinking about work. Again, I'm taking work home with me. And so I'm having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, trying to problem solve in my head. They're fatigued. All day they just feel like they're running on empty and they can't stay awake. They're exhausted. I have trouble concentrating. I can read the same thing over and over again, be like, what did I just read? Or trying to read all these emails, muscle tensions and headaches. So it starts getting into physical symptoms as well. Stomach problems. People have constipation or they have diarrhea. Um, just thinking about having to go to work. And sometime I hear people say, man, it starts on Sunday when I think, oh my God, I got to get ready to go back on this job. They start social withdrawing. They isolate from other people. They have regular absence or they have a higher sick rate because of the stress that it starts breaking down the immune system. And so they are more susceptible to colds, flu, um, different bronchitis, and then start being accident prone, running into things. I'm not thinking clearly, so I'm driving, I might hit something. Um, or or I pull into the garage and I don't pull in enough and the garage door hits the car, so I'm just doing things that's just not your normal. And I cannot see that. Oh, okay, there we go. So, job burnout. And the reason why I want to talk about job burnout is because this is becoming recognized by the American Psychological Association that this is a real thing. This is not just people saying, oh, I'm just stressed on my job. In fact, this is going to be a new diagnosis that's coming out, I believe, in 2022, called workplace stress. What they recognizing that this job burnout is serious, and more people are getting burned out on their job as well. And so it's a special type of work related stress. So remember, I was saying that acute stress, I'm feeling, I'm not feeling, I can't concentrate. I start feeling the physical, the headaches and things. Those are they're not good symptoms, but they're kind of like on the low end. Job burnout is more like the severe end. We keep pushing and pushing and pushing um, through that stress. So if depression and stress was to get married, this is what the results would be: job burnout, and to the state of physical and emotional exhaustion that involve a sense of reduced accomplishment and a loss of personal identity. I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't even sound like myself anymore. So simply put, if you feel exhausted, starts to hate your job, and you begin to feel less capable of work, you're showing some signs of burnout. And you can go from it's like running 100 miles per hour toward a wall. And so sometimes people with job burnout, they can't even get out of bed. they don't have any compassion. They just don't have uh, the capability of just being feeling compassion toward people. So some of the factors that can contribute to it is a heavy workload, or you work these long hours, and you keep pushing, and just accepting that, okay, I'm going to be working these long hours, and so, but I got to get this work done. I got to get these things done, and with no end in sight. You struggle with your work life balance, and this is why work life balance is so important. It's so critical, actually, because people end up in the hospital because of work stress. You work in a helping profession such as healthcare. So certain professions, people are prone, if they don't take care of themselves, they will start getting job burnout. You know, and in the healthcare field, having compassion and empathy is important. But when you are burned out, you don't have the capacity. You can't even be compassion. You just feel very cold. You can't. You don't have that warmth. You feel like you have little or no control over your work. It's like your work is controlling you and your life. You start alienating from work-related activities. So if people are having, say, hey, we're going to have we're going to go out to lunch, or they're doing a team-related issue, you don't want to get involved in it. Individuals experiencing burnout view their jobs as increasingly stressful and frustrating, and they may grow cynical about working conditions and the people they work with. Like, nobody wants to be around you. You're snapping at everybody. Um, they may also emotionally distance themselves to feel numb about their work. So they just going through the emotions. I get up, I go to work. Even if I'm working from home, I get up, I go to the computer, and then it's just um, anybody have any questions for me? I don't, I'm snapping. I am constantly snapping on people, but to the point where I'm just going through the emotions. We may also have the physical. So they start having the chronic stress may lead to symptoms like headaches. And these are headaches that last for days, stomach aches, or intestinal issues. They start maybe having GERD, acid reflux, things of that nature. That emotional exhaustion, that burnout causes people to feel drained or unable to cope, or they're tired and they lack the energy to get anything done. And some people will actually literally cannot even get out of bed. They're so exhausted. Their performance is drastically reduced. It affects everyday tasks at work or even at home. Just trying to wash the dishes or just trying to fold up clothes. It feels like lead is in your arms and legs, and you can't even. It feels very difficult to even get that done. When someone's main job involves caring for family members, individuals with burnout feel negative about tasks. They have difficulty concentrating and all lack creativity. I just can't do it. I can't concentrate. I can't focus. It's very difficult for me to, for anybody to do anything. That's the depression symptoms. They lose interest in things, feelings of hopelessness, cognitive, physical symptoms, as well as thought of suicide. So, um, but again, I wanted to bring that burnout because it's being more and more frequent as we just continue to just treasure. We just go through the same cycle. We get up, we go to work, and I just ignore all of the stress related symptoms. And so, this is now, I want to talk about how to handle stress at work, which is very important. And so, again, having that work life balance is important, but you want to be aware of how your stress is affecting you. Because sometimes we just, again, just go through the emotions and we don't think and say, wow, I get this headaches all the time. I get muscle aches. I can't concentrate. How is the stress is affecting me? And so it may sound overly simple, but it's easy to underestimate how much stress affects you, especially if it's not affecting us physically. We just keep going ahead. we just keep trudging ahead. So you want to take note if you find yourself emotionally exhausted or pessimistic by the end of the day. You leave and work and you just like, man, if I can curse everybody out, I know I'm a Christian, but I'm cursing everybody out in my head at the end of the day. Problem solving. And so that's an active coping strategy to involve teaching people to take specific steps when approaching a roadblock or a challenge. Let me step back and say, well, what can I do about this problem? What can I do about the stress?
Well, listen, technology happens. It looks like we lost Dr. Wilson from the broadcast, but we're going to definitely have her to come back at a later date and share the remaining of this session with us. So we do apologize, but however, technology and the internet system does some crazy things at sometimes. But listen, we do want you to share what has been heard tonight, what has been shared with us tonight, so that others may be able to handle and be able to cope with workplace stress. We thank you so much for viewing Let's Talk, and we will be talking next month. God bless you all.